Hi, everybody. You're tuned into Intelligent Thoughts. My name is Dustin Coyle. This is the Daily Wager for, Wednesday, May number 10, 2017. I should start this out probably by saying I feel like the Rockets owe me money at this point. Coming, game 3 from Friday, losing at home. Well, it was game 3, I think. Last night, up by 9 in the third quarter. James Harden somehow doesn't score any points from basically the beginning of the third quarter until like the midway point of the fourth quarter. And then even in overtime, they're up by 3 with the ball with like a minute left. And then Kawhi Leonard's not even playing. And then they end up blowing the game. Danny Green has like 14 points, the last 7 points scored in the game, I think, or the last 7 points for San Antonio at least. And Houston blows the W, that underdog win. It was looking pretty good, the plus 190 from yesterday. I was feeling damn good about it the whole time, all smiles and shit watching the game. Fourth quarter just was a debacle for Houston. They managed to get it to overtime, and then in overtime, just a horrible shooting performance from both teams. And then Danny Green, really the only effective player in the fourth quarter. Tough one. Honestly, that's a tough one. It really pisses me off. You know, you don't really expect to win the underdog ones, but when you're up by 9 in the third quarter, dominating the game, shooting relatively well, James Harden playing really well, you know, that one stings quite a bit. All that being said, didn't really lose much money. And the upside, I mean, it clearly was a pretty valuable pick, actually. Didn't win, but I don't hate it. Definitely don't hate that pick. I guess that's pretty much the entire recap of the day. Give you a little bit more, I guess. LaMarcus Aldridge started out playing really, really poorly, doing a lot of fadeaway jumpers. Ended up being extremely successful. 18 points, 14 rebounds. Not the most fantastic stat line, but definitely effective. The size really ended up killing Houston. They got a lot of those offensive rebounds. I can't tell him. 9 offensive rebounds for Aldridge. All right, that's where he was extremely effective. 3 for Kawhi Leonard. Every player that played other than Kenny Anderson had at least 1 offensive rebound. So that can tell you, how dominant they were just with the size there with Nene out. Let me do a count here. 18 offensive rebounds on the night for the Spurs. In the game, Kawhi leads them with 22 and 15 rebounds. Great game for him. Patty Mills gives you 20. Danny Green, 16, like I already said. Harden, good game, 33, 10, and 10. Only 4 for 15 from downtown, though, 26%. Really not a great game for him. Beverly, 5 for 7, much better for Beverly. Gordon hits only 1. They only play 7 players the entire game. They have, 6 players on the bench that didn't play a single second of the game. And I think that's probably going to be an issue moving forward. Ryan Anderson, Clint Capella, the only centers you have. That's going to be difficult to sustain. If I'm D'Antoni, I find a way to get Harrell or Decker in the game, in game 6, when it comes back to Houston, because you're definitely going to need some help on the boards. Just 9 offensive rebounds compared to the 18 I just talked about for the Spurs. Just 9 for Houston. 3 of them Capella, 2 for Beverly, 2 for Ryan Anderson. Definitely going to have to be more physical. I think that's going to be sort of the defining factor over the next 2 games, Game 6 and Game 7. I don't see. Basically, if Kawhi Leonard can play, he twisted his ankle in this game, didn't play in the fourth quarter and overtime, but as long as he can play, which it seems like he's going to be able to play, Houston's going to win, or San Antonio's going to win this series. They're going to beat up Harden. They're going to slow him down. They're going to make people shoot the threes. They're going to make him hit them, and at least one of those games they're going to miss. So, I mean, I think this series is already over. They looked demoralized in the fourth quarter in OT last night, too. They truly, truly looked demoralized. James Harden was he got the ball, I think he had 3 turnovers in the fourth quarter. And blaming other people, yelling at Clint Capella when it was clearly his fault and shit like this. I think they're done with the injury to Nene, the lack of size. Only 7 guys somehow coming from what was just a ridiculously strong bench to just having literally nobody that they want to put in, apparently. Pretty surprising. Not good news at all. All right. So let's talk about today. One game in the NBA, pretty much the way it's going to be forever now. 6 o'clock, TNT. We have a Game 5, the Wiz Kids and the Boston Celtics. Back in Boston, as we've talked about before, and anybody who follows this series or anything like it knows, it's been a pretty nasty 8-game series over if you count the regular season, it's been a pretty nasty-ass series. One of the most intense rivalries I've seen in the NBA in a few years, I would say, honestly, as far as dislike and or contempt for the other team. In the NBA, you usually get a lot of buddies on other team. You get a lot of hugs and a lot of fucking random ass, LeBron versus Dwayne Wade shit. That's just not the case with this series. I mean, this is a hard-fought series. We obviously saw the Kelly versus Kelly fight, Oubre versus Olynyk. Oubre, after getting hit in the face, running and shoving the shit out of basically just a straight body check on the Canadian Kelly Olynyk. Kind of hits the ref, too, a little bit. Physical game. I think there were three ejections. I can't remember, but there was a ridiculous stat line as far as the basically the amount of penalties and all that shit that were procured during that game. This game probably going to be pretty similar. Isaiah was complaining pretty heavily about the Wizards holding onto his jersey, being rough, battering him in the lane. That's definitely going to be the game plan for them. We've talked about that before. It seems to be pretty obvious. This game, Game 5 in Boston, I do feel like the refs probably tried to make amends for that situation because it was pretty obvious. If you really watch the highlights or if you watched the last game or even the other games before, he has been getting held. I mean, when they held him to 13 in Game 3, 19 in Game 4, just 2 in the second half, just by battering him up, beating him up, double teaming him, triple teaming him, making him pass the ball, making other people make shots, which proved to be, damn successful, honestly. Blueprint there has been laid out, I think, for Washington, and I think they're probably going to have to try to stick to that. For Isaiah, I think Isaiah's got to attack the hole. I think they're going to probably get the calls more favorably in Boston, not just because it's in Boston, but because, like I was saying, they are probably going to try to make up for the fact that he only shot one free throw in the second half last game. They'll probably try to make up for the fact that they, to put it nicely, missed a couple of calls there. So I do expect a big game out of young Isaiah. They'll have to get it. If Boston has any shot at winning another game in this series, they're going to have to get a big-ass game out of Isaiah Thomas. No one else on the team is really capable of putting up a 30-point performance on some great shooting night. If they do, that would be a first basically for them. And that would then be able to, they could do a combination of that and maybe a 25, 23-point performance from Isaiah. If that doesn't happen, though, Isaiah's got to have 35 points. He's got to shoot 21 free throws. That's going to be the game plan for Boston today. I think that this game should be kind of how I was talking last night. Well, maybe more so, actually. So if you remember, I was saying that I thought that the Spurs Houston, it should be like a minus 130, plus 110 in favor of, probably for the rest of the series, in favor of the home team. And I think I'd still say that. Washington, I think, because the home team has had so much more success, the home team's 8-0 throughout the entire series, dating back to the beginning of the regular season. I would say this might be one where maybe I would say it's a 150, minus 150 to plus 130. But maybe not even that, honestly. As well as Washington played, honestly, in all 4 games, but specifically, as well as they closed out and played a full games 3 and 4, I have a lot of faith in them. I think this should probably be a pretty close spread. Let's take a peek at it, though, and actually see what it is we're looking at here. All right, Boston Celtics, 4.5-point favorite. Money line, Boston minus 180. The Wizards plus 160. I've seen that going around different directions. I've seen that as low as minus 170, as high as minus 190. That's probably because people love the home team. People love betting on the favorites. Vegas makes its money on the underdogs, though. And plus 160. How do I feel about that? Plus 160 is not bad for the Wizards. I'm not sure if I think that it's the call to make right now. I wouldn't mind if we could stretch that up to a plus 170, plus 175 or something like that. It's a good call. I think that the Wizards are probably going to win this game, and I think they're probably going to win the series in the slightest margins, of the slightest of margins. I just think that they have generally figured out how they can beat Boston, and if it wasn't for two big collapses in the first two games, the series would actually already be over. Boston doesn't seem like they can really defend the full backcourt of the Wiz. It's a problem. If John Wall's on point, which is kind of a bigger if, he's been the best player in the series this so far, and he probably will have to continue to be so in order for them to win. On the other hand, Isaiah will have to be the best player in the series for Boston to win. I just like the depth of offensive talent that Washington has. I think maybe 60 is not bad. I think that you could even, if this was like I said, a plus 120, that wouldn't surprise me at all. If it was a 1 or a 2 point spread, that wouldn't surprise me at all. Contemplate that plus 160 there for the Wizards. For the first time all year in this series, I'm believing in the road team. It's kind of interesting. I just think that after 8 games, it's kind of pushed itself to the point where maybe home court advantage isn't going to be as big of a deal in games 9, 10, and maybe 11. All right, well, that's the end of the games for the day. But I was looking at futures and props and shit like that, and I think I found a couple of not great lines, but great, I don't know, just kind of money in the bank. All right, let's look at a few of these things. How about, I think this one is a faux show, odds to win the Eastern Conference. Clearly the Cavs, massive front runner, minus 600. The Celtics are a plus 550, and the Wizards are a plus 1200. I actually think, since they're at 2-2 right now, the Wizards, I think they have a better shot at beating Cleveland than does Boston. So I would way rather put my money on the plus 1200 for the Wiz. The Cavs are truly going to shut down Isaiah. They're truly going to D him up. They're going to lock his ass down. On that note, though, a plus 1200 I think still is a ripoff. I would not touch it, and a plus 550 for the Celtics is a terrible, terrible deal. I honestly don't believe that there is a 1 in 12 chance that either of those teams wins the Eastern Conference. I think I could see the Cavs at a minus 1,000 or something like that, and I think that people would still be putting money on it. I took him. I just put some dough on him at minus 600. I'd be surprised if any team, either of those teams, beat them twice. I think that we could probably see one team win one game at home, probably a game 3. But I don't see anybody beating them twice in the Eastern Conference. So a minus 600 to me, money in the motherfucking bank. And you can probably tell where I'm going with this other one. Golden State Warriors minus 800. Houston plus 1,400. San Antonio plus 750. The Golden State Warriors are looking like the greatest team of all time right now. They're not. They're probably going to win in 5 games as well. They're going to fuck up the Spurs. They are literally going to fuck the Spurs up, I feel like. Minus 800, not terrible for that. I would actually